so I'm going to get started. Welcome, everyone. I am Heidi Kretzer, speaking to you from the Adirondack Mountains on the North America continent in the lands that have been stewarded for many a millennia by the Haudenosaunee tribe. And I am the Global Director for the Rights and Communities Thematic Program. This is our second installation of the Notes from the Field special on grievance redress mechanisms. So today we have two speakers, Manuel Nazare and Eduardo Villegas, who will be sharing with us the context of implementing a GRM when you have funders telling you what to do and the need to integrate with other local NGOs. So we'll get to that in a minute. For some housekeeping, I'd like to remind everybody that we have interpretation services. So you can choose your language of preference down at the bottom where it says interpretation, and you can click on the language that you would like to listen in on. So if you want to listen in on English, we recommend that you click on that language, and you can also choose to mute the original audio so that you can hear more clearly. And just so you know, Eduardo will be speaking in Spanish when he speaks, so you'll hear the Spanish and the English unless you actually press that mute button. That's for the English speakers. And so I don't think I need to, if anybody has a problem with the interpretation, please put something into the chat box, and there will be people standing by to assist. Okay, we will be doing a recording, as you saw when you joined, and these recordings will be available on the WCS YouTube channel, and they'll be at the same location where we have the basic necessity survey, or basic necessities survey special series webinar that we did last spring, I think it was. So there'll be a whole host of notes from the field from the Rights and Communities team. Okay, that's it for housekeeping. I would like to remind the speakers, if you can speak slowly, that will be helpful for the translation services. So for those of you who missed Tuesday's presentation, this is our second webinar of the Notes for the Field series that's brought to you by the Global Rights and Communities Program. To ensure that we are respecting and protecting the rights of Indigenous peoples and local communities on the ground, we set up these grievance redress mechanisms such that anybody, anywhere in our programs and our partner communities and Indigenous peoples can submit a complaint and receive and resolve, and that complaint can be received and resolved in a timely manner. This is a system that is being required by funders, and so it's really important that we learn from the experiences that we're having in the field over the last 4 or 5 years from the field teams that are actually implementing on how we do this and how we do it well. So this series was set up so that we could learn from one another. And on Tuesday, Margit Berteland gave us a wonderful presentation that was an overview of the grievance redress mechanism process with specific details on the rollout that has happened in Central Africa at 2 sites. That presentation is recorded and is available. I don't know actually if it's available right away. Dawa, you could drop that link into the chat box if it is, so that you can have that for later. And today, well, a week from today, I want you to all know that this is the second of 3. So a week from today, we will have Pen from Cambodia and Simon from Tanzania talking about the implementation of a GRM in situations where we are closely working with the government, and the government really wants to be part of our GRM system. That will be a very lively conversation. But for today's call, we'll be focusing on how teams are setting up grievance redress mechanisms that meet funder demands and integrate with local NGOs who are also operating grievance redress mechanisms. So our first speaker is Manuel Nazare. He is the Environmental and Social Management System Manager for the Blue Futures Project in Mozambique in the Marine program. He is an environmental engineer with a master's in hydrocarbon processing engineering, and he's worked over 8 years of professional experience in environmental and social safeguards. So without further ado, we will turn it over to Manuel. And actually, before I do that, if you have questions that are about clarifying things that Manuel says, please drop those in the chat box. We'll have a few minutes after he concludes his talk to ask him questions. Then we'll switch over to Eduardo. Each of the speakers will speak about 20 minutes. Then we'll have a discussion at the end, which will have both questions for Eduardo and Manuel and the rest of the GRM people on the call. So Manuel, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, team.
Right, we can't hear you, Manuel. Maybe you're muted.
Hi.
I can hear him, okay?
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear Manuel.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's nice to hear you guys again. It's a pleasure to be part of this series for working and talk about the GRM. So as I did presenting, my name is Manuel Nazare. I'm here to present part of the work we are doing on GRM, mostly with partnership with government. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Good. So as I will say, I will be presenting the work we are doing with local community on GRM to make them part of our initiative of working on the projects. I'm working for Blue Future Project. Blue Future Project is a project implementing in Mozambique and WCS responsibility, working with around 6 partners, for 2 from governmental institutional. So the main goal of the project is to create a marine protected area. So as you know, marine protected area can come with access restriction impact. So to avoid that, our donor, which is a Blue H fund, gives to us instrument on safeguards to prevent this kind of problem, so to mitigate the impact. So going through our GRM process, our GRM is being implemented, it's operational since February this year, because we're technically in the first year of projects. So we're implementing with 6 partners, which 2 of them are local NGO. One is a project funded by World Bank, and one is a national NGO, and 2 government now. So we have around 4 operations.
Manuel, I think you're having some internet issues. Are you with us?
Reasons and so to make the banking, they develop around 10 principles. Of those 10 principles, one of them is regarding with GRM management. So that's meaning that our GRM system includes requirement for WCS, requirement for Blue Ocean Fund, requirement for World Bank, and also includes some guideline for government. So that is the connection or where the structure of our grievance mechanisms come from. To give a clear example, we have this structure from, this is the structure of our GRM process. I divided on 3 zones. One zone is a zone beginning phase where we have a project team, which is a WCS team, and complement people who submit their complaint or their grievance. We have action, we are active in this phase 1. So in the phase 2 of grievance system, we have active WCS team or Blue Future team working on this area. Is the area that we are give management, the management of the grievance, where we see, we screening, we not assess and see if it's eligible or not. And we have the last part where we include WCS team, local NGO, the 2 workers with us in the project, and we have also local authority that we involve to give a response to a specific grievance. So this structure comes from the background of a World Bank and the Blue Ocean Fund framework. So this second structure is from World Bank process, because I was say we have one of the project funded by World Bank on our project as a co-implementing. They call it Pro Azul. They have their own GRM, but they are also implementing the project with us in the Blue Future. That means we have to combine these 2 processes. So what we did take a decision is the process that we will use is the Blue Future 1 that we created in our project. And there are some steps that we have to engage the project funded by World Bank, called Pro Azul, to see or to combine efforts to solve the cases. Once the grievance enter here, as you see, the first stage, once the grievance enter, we have time to sit with a local NGO and the grievance team. When I say GRM teams, I'm meaning the WCS team and also the team from this World Bank project, and see what is the nature of the grievance, if it is related with a specific engage this partner to be part of resolution process of the project. We are assuming that all partners can be part of resolution process, or if we need, we can engage a part of local authorities and local NGOs to be part of this resolution process. So this is the arrangement that we have done to make sure that the World Bank framework is fit on our GRM developed under the Blue Future projects. So what is our experience working with a local NGO? So as I was saying, in our project, we work with 2 local NGO, which is ADPP and the AMA. Those 2 NGO works directly with community and supporting us implementing livelihood activity and also co-management of natural resource. So these two local NGO plays very important roles in our GRM system, because they are representing those community when they feel as affected by our project, and they also assist the data collection when we need more data from, for example, during the investigation, we need more data to take decision. They support because they are in the community day by day, and they also provide us the advocacy or advocate the community and assist them to make sure that their rights be observed and their rights is be under our list of priority when we are taking decision in whatever situation or whatever is the case. We take in consideration the local contents and local right order. So in day by day, what exactly these two local NGO doing? So for example, ADPP have rules on GRM as a GRM focal point in community because they have a technician on all those community where we work. So they act as a focal point for us. And also they help us in dissemination of GRM, which community, to make they know what's the process work, and when they have an issue with the system, they link or send the case to us. And they also help community to indicate the correct channel to submit the grievance and monitoring the status of the grievance to those communities. We don't have access to digital source to monitoring their grievance. And they also alert us in case of the physical grievance in our grievance box, which is located on all community, because we are not in the community day by day, but they are. So when they see some physical grievance, they give us alert to go and collect this grievance. And they also support us to pick the or create a good resolution committee in the community when we have a specific case. But this work with local NGO have some challenge. I try to point out some of them. The most important to mention is there are no investment on the building capacities or training to those the technician of those NGO, ADPP and AMA. ADPP and AMA, they don't feel like GRM or safeguard issue is important to them because this is something new. They focus on improving livelihoods and also management of natural resource, and they don't have this culture of safeguarding and also GRM. This is a big critical. And they have low access to technology reliability and also source to reports in time manner the case, or sometimes they don't have enough resource to communicate with us. And other big issue is related with trusting in the community. Most of those technicians for IDPP and AMA, they are from the community, and the elders see them as a young and not experienced to be part of resolution when some problems arise. They think that those technicians are too young to be part of the resolution, but they are working for the project, and it is critical to they be part of the process. So this is related with the culture barrier in this community, because the problem is most of the time is solvent, or the resolution is led by elders, and not those technician was a young. What our strategy to try to address this challenge? We are invest in the capacity building to our local NGO. So far we conduct 3 training on GRM for them, one in June. Sorry, first of all was in beginning of the project, which was led by AD Michelle Dayani, and we also follow up on that with 3 other trainings in June, September, and July this year, and October this year. And also we conduct a gender training in November this year. And also we are raise awareness with EDPP and AMA to build this culture of importance on GRM and safeguarding to improve our community development or community engage and try to engage the elder to build trust on our technician, show them that is critical to the young people to be part of a grievance system because they also know the process and they are also part of the projects. So we are improving also technology for those ADPP and the AMA technician. We train them to use email, WhatsApp communication, and also call to have fast communication when arising some critical grievance. And we invest them to have a long-term strategy to build this culture of GRM and also safeguarding process on their organization. So that's all for now. Thank you for your attention. I hope you can hear me. The internet connections was working properly. Thank you.
Hang on a second. I have a bio for Eduardo, and I will tell you a little bit about who Eduardo is. Eduardo Villegas Flores is the Environmental and Social Standards Coordinator for the GEF Putumayo Inca project in the Andes, Amazonia, Orinoco, AAO region. He is an ecologist by training with a master's in environmental quality and a fundraising specialist for over 18 years in a different sector outside of the environment, but he is now well-versed in social safeguards and is here to share his experiences. Over to you, Eduardo.
Thanks, Heidi. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are okay. And as Heidi said at the beginning of this webinar, I will be speaking in Spanish because, as you all know, it's my native language. So it's going to be better for me just to try to explain what we are trying to do with this project. And if everyone here is okay and they are seeing my screen, please thumbs up or say hello or say okay. Okay, thank you very much.
So as I was saying, this project, integrated management of the Putumayo Isa River, it's a project with a lot of specific characteristics. It involves 4 countries of the Andes, Orinoco, Amazon, includes Colombia, Peru, Brazil, and also Ecuador. This is a project that is funded by the GEF. It's implemented by the World Bank, and it's executed by us, WCS. But it's not only our project. This is a joint effort with the ministries of the environment of the countries that I mentioned. And what does this mean? That these ministries are at the board that make the decisions in the steering committee, but many of the technical units of the ministries are part of the technical committee. This involves many stakeholders in the 4 countries, and it has different perspectives. This project was created during the pandemic. We coordinated remotely. Just by the end of 2022, we could do a couple of presentations on site. So the indigenous communities, the local communities, and the institutions did not know the project on the ground. And the starting date was October last year. As you know, we are gathered here to talk about GRM, but it's important to know a bit about the project. This is a 5-year project with certain countries and partner entities, the ministries of the environment of these countries. And the objective is to strengthen the conditions of the management of this basin. And in that basin, there are not only indigenous peoples, there are indigenous communities, farming communities, migrants. We have deforestation issues in that basin. We have legal trafficking issues. We have illegal mining issues. So the context in which we are working, it's really complicated with a lot of pressures, and we need to see how to approach these pressures in the framework of this project. We have our GRM system, and also we have direct communication with the World Bank for the security issues. So we need to articulate with the World Bank through our GRM, but also if something happens in the territory, if we are exposed to any threats, if we are exposed to any problems with criminal groups, if we are exposed to bribing, all of that is reported to the World Bank in a certain way. But all the complaints are reported through our GRM. But what did the bank wanted initially? They wanted to manage a governance and decision making of all the stakeholders in the basin. This was a component focused on the activities in the territory, which is the part where we could have the most complaints from the communities that could be affected by the implementation of our project. Initially, the bank said, I'm going to be the implementator of this project, and you as WCS needs to adjust to our social and environmental standards. They have 10 standards, and in those 10 social and environmental standards, there are associated activities to the report of the risks, to the planning report, but also we need to comply with certain tasks that each of these standards provide. So that's why my position is coordinator of these social and environmental standards. And I follow the bank recommendations. When we talk about safeguards, the bank said, wait a minute, we're not talking about safeguards, we're talking about social and environmental standards. And that was the first discussion that my colleague Rosario had. Many of you know her. She was the person in charge of having this initial conversation with the bank to make them understand that we in WCS, we have a lot of experience in conflict resolution. We have a lot of experience working on the ground. We have a lot of experience working with indigenous peoples and local communities. And there was no need to bring another system or to build a new system. We could implement our system with certain adjustments that the social specialists from the bank were proposing. So this was a very hard discussion. We sent emails back and forth. They didn't like the word complaint, so okay, let's put grievance. Diane was working in the process, Heidi as well. We met with the World Bank team several times. We explained our system. We made changes to the COBO format that we showed you. We did some adjustments for the region. And there was a question of how was the work with those other NGOs or local governments that were working So this complaint is for who? For WCS, or is for a consultant or a contractor from WCS, or is for somebody that is part of the project and it works on the ground. And when we receive the notification, we can know, okay, this is against Eduardo Villegas or WCS or the Ministry of the Environment. And that way we can say, okay, this complaint is for you, and then we start the resolution process for each of those complaints or grievances. The World Bank said, it doesn't matter if it's a congratulation, you could have 10 greetings a day, because it doesn't matter if it's a complaint, if it's a grievance, if it's a suggestion, everything needs to be answered. Even if it's, hello, thank you very much, I'm looking for a job, or hey, today they don't give us any snack on last week's meeting. Everything needs to be presented to the bank according to the agreements that we are following, and with these, according with these standards. So this social and environmental management framework, that it's a request from the World Bank for us, we as WCS need to comply with this to execute the resources. And it needs to comply with an environmental and social commitment plan. Here I report to the bank what am I doing in each of these topics that I have. A residue management plan, a process framework, a labor management plan, a stakeholder engagement plan. And if you see, we have some boxes that are outside, and here it's our GRM. And this is aiming to the ES2, ES5, ES7, and ES10, these environmental standards. I'm gonna have complaints about the labor and working conditions. I'm gonna have complaints about land acquisition, restriction on land use. I'm gonna have specific complaints for indigenous peoples and local communities. And I'm gonna have specific complaints for stakeholder engagement plan. However, any complaint could appear about the report, the presentation of the reports, if we didn't share the reports with all of those entities. Even one of those entities can present a complaint against WCS because I didn't share any information. And the bank says you need to answer everything. In less than 24 hours, you need to say if that complaint surpasses our level 3 of the mechanism, because the bank has a very similar table regarding how they assess the risk or the complaints based on levels. So the bank says, if you in your GRM receive something above 3, in less than 24 hours, the regional director of Andes Amazonia Orinoco needs to inform the bank. But it's on level 1 or 2, there's no need to inform us. You could present it on the 6 months report. If it's a 4 and 5, needs to be reported very quickly, because the bank may need to make a decision regarding that complaint. So the bank says, okay, you can report in GRM, but you can report also in a risk plan that I showed you. Where is it? This risk plan. And these are not the working risks or the risks that I can have discussing with my colleague. This is the physical risk that we are exposed to, the people that is implementing the project on the field. So, as I said, each of these environmental standards have certain documents and activities that I need to comply with. And in some of them, it says that I need to implement a complaint mechanism that needs to be visible. And as Manuel said, we need to have suggestion boxes on the communities. We need to have a website. And in our project, we need to provide a link to our COBO format. Then in the 4 countries that are part of this project, we have on the WCS website for each of these countries, we have a link that leads us to the COBO toolbox. And we're gonna do it through the ministries and entities that are part of the project that are working with us. We're gonna do this through the voice-to-voice, where we work in a community and they said, okay, I need to tell you about these people, but it needs to stay between us. Well, it cannot stay between us. We can put the name of the person in reserve, but me as a coordinator or as a staff member or a consultant should take that information to the people that can report it in the GRM. And this is the website from our project. This is the site of our project, and it has different tabs: the Putumayo Basin, the project, and there's a tab that is called MAQR, where I can click and we can do these complaints through an email, WhatsApp, or the physical office of WCS, or you can click here in this form. And Margit talked about this last Tuesday. This COBO form takes me to Asana, and depending on their role, they can grade or classify that complaint in Asana, so you can follow the process. The project hasn't been implemented on the field. We haven't gone to the field since October 18, 2022, because we need to comply with certain disbursement requirements. When we do that, we're gonna take this and we're gonna start disseminating on the field, which is another recommendation from the bank. The more dissemination, the more visibility is gonna be better for the mechanism. Because we said, okay, maybe we can have a prize for those who has more solved complaints. That's great, because it can have more visibility, or maybe they used it better. We are not going to think that everything in this river basin is perfect. Maybe complaints are not reaching us because there is no visibility. They may be internet access issues. So we need to take all the tools to disseminate this information so they can know that this mechanism exists and that everything that they send is going to be answered. And there are going to be certain confidentiality criteria, and everything is going to be in writing, and it's going to be reported, because this is one of the indicators of the World Bank project. In that framework that I showed you, in this environmental and social commitment plan, we have an indicator, and it's related to the resolution of those complaints. How many did I have? 5. How many did I resolve? It should be 5, but no, I only solved 4. And what happened with this one? No, the system went down, or I couldn't communicate with my colleagues. There could be a million reasons, but the indicator is to answer all the complaints, and that indicator is going to validate that it's working. Or if I don't receive anything in 5 years, that means that it didn't work as it should. And that's all I had to present regarding how it works, how it's articulated, and how is the relationship with the World Bank. We need to make the bank understand that we have certain social and environmental safeguards. We've been working with this from a long time. We are an organization with over 100 years in the territory. So let's build this together. We're not going to change our GRM globally because you want it. Let's adjust and let's coordinate, and let's start working collaboratively. And that would be all from my part.
Thank you, Eduardo. Wild clapping from the field for both of these wonderful